I never meant for my body to betray me that night. But sometimes, the silence in a marriage becomes louder than thunder. Sometimes one touch, one whisper, one breath too close, becomes the match that lights everything you've been hiding. And that was what happened the night he stood behind me, his fingers brushing my waist like he was unbuttoning my secrets, my composure, and the little piece of innocence I had left. I remember the way I froze. Not because I didn't want it, but because I wanted it too much. "Are you okay?" he whispered behind me. His voice was deep, familiar, dangerous in the kind of way that makes a woman forget she is somebody's wife. My heart wasn't beating anymore. It was pounding, hard enough to break the quiet in the room and maybe the vows I once believed would save me. Before I continue, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and share this story. What I'm about to confess is heavy, and I need your support as I take you into the night that almost exposed me completely. It started at the community fundraiser my husband insisted we attend but didn't bother to show up for on time. He said he got held up at work. And like always, I smiled and pretended it didn't sting. So I arrived alone, heels clicking, perfume hugging my skin, nervousness hiding in my smile, like a married woman trying too hard to look unbothered. Then he appeared. Daniel. The man who used to be my neighbor. The man who once helped my husband fix his car. The man I should have been running away from the moment his eyes caught mine again. He wasn't supposed to be there. He wasn't supposed to notice me. And I wasn't supposed to feel my knees soften just by seeing him. But fate is a wicked playwright. "Wow," he said, looking me up and down slowly. "You look different. Different. Not married. Not taken. Not off limits. Just different." And I felt it. In my chest. In my pulse. In the warm, shaken place between wanting and knowing better. We talked, too close, too long, too comfortably. One joke led to laughter. Laughter led to leaning in. Leaning in led to that moment. That exact moment. When he placed his hand on my lower back to guide me through a crowded hallway. It was innocent. It should have been innocent. But the heat of his palm. The pressure of his fingers. The way he slid them just slightly to prevent me from stumbling. That was when my marriage trembled. And that was the moment I realized how long it had been since someone touched me like I mattered. We reached an empty side room, the storage area behind the catering tables, because the hallway was too tight and the crowd too noisy. I should have walked out. Instead, I turned around. And he was right there. Too close. Too steady. Too sure. His eyes held mine in a way my husband's hadn't in months. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking into me. "Your husband still forgetting you in rooms like this?" he asked quietly. I swallowed. Hard. That's not your business." He smiled. "Then why do you look like a woman waiting to be remembered?" My breath broke. And that was when the atmosphere changed. Slowly, dangerously. Like he was unbuttoning my walls one by one. Until even my moans felt soaked inside me, begging for air. I stepped back. Because I had to. Because I was supposed to. But he stepped forward. Because he wanted to. Because he wasn't supposed to. And that was the night. The night that almost exposed everything I'd been hiding beneath my ring, my vows, and the lies I told myself about being strong. I used to think temptation had a timetable. Morning for responsibility. Afternoon for routine. Night for rest. But midnight. Midnight became something else entirely after I met him. A doorway. A pulse. A slow-burning matchstick dragged across my skin. And honestly, I didn't see it coming. The first night it happened wasn't planned. I wasn't sitting there hoping for trouble. I wasn't craving danger. I was just a tired wife, sitting at the edge of my bed with the weight of a quiet marriage pressing down on me. My husband was snoring softly beside me. The room smelled like lavender. My scent diffuser always tried harder to keep us calm than we tried to keep each other close. Then my phone buzzed. A message. From him. The man whose smile had already carved a small secret inside me. The man whose voice had brushed my skin earlier that afternoon like warm fingers gliding up a cold spine. The man who made eye contact like he was telling my soul to open the door. I shouldn't have checked it. But I did. You awake? Those two words. God, they were simple, but they pierced me in a place I didn't know was starving. I told myself not to respond. I said it out loud like a prayer. I'm married. I'm married. I'm married. But my thumbs typed something else. Yes. Just 3 letters. But that was all he needed. He texted back almost instantly, as if he'd been waiting for me, watching the clock, counting the seconds until he could slip into the part of me my husband never bothered to reach. I can't stop thinking about earlier. Earlier. When his hand brushed mine. When his fingers lingered a moment too long. When his eyes dipped to my lips like he was reading a language they were begging to speak. I inhaled sharply, quietly, glancing at my sleeping husband. His back was turned to me. Just like always. And that was the moment. That was when the guilt didn't feel as heavy as the hunger. I typed again. What exactly are you thinking about? A small betrayal. Soft. Slippery. But betrayal nonetheless. My phone buzzed again. Come downstairs. Just for a minute. I want to see you. God. If the moon had reached down and pulled my hips forward, it would have felt the same. I knew he was outside. Waiting. Like midnight was ours alone. I slipped out of bed. Barefoot. Heartbeat racing. Down the stairs. Past the family pictures. Past the vows framed in the hallway, faded words that no longer warmed me. When I opened the door, he was leaning against his car, hands in pockets, eyes burning like he had waited lifetimes for the moment I stepped outside. Hey, he whispered. That single word slid across my skin like warm breath into a cold confession. Why are you here? I asked. His smile answered for him as he stepped closer, slow, deliberate, his shadow folding into mine. Because, he murmured, I'm losing my mind wanting you. My knees softened. My stomach tightened. My breath hitched. Nobody had wanted me like that in years. He reached up, gently, so gently, and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. His finger grazed the corner of my jaw. That one touch. That single delicate stroke. It unbuttoned something inside me that had nothing to do with clothes. Tell me no, he said quietly, and I'll walk away. But I couldn't speak. My mouth opened, but nothing came out. And he knew. He leaned in. Close. Closer. Until his lips hovered over mine like a sin building its momentum. Look at me, he breathed. I did. And just like that. My marriage, my logic. My vows. All began to unravel beneath the heat of a whisper that wasn't even a kiss yet. That was the night he became my midnight addiction. Not because he touched me. But because he made me feel alive before he ever did. Don't forget to like this story, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Because trust me. What happens next will make midnight feel like the most dangerous hour of a woman's life. The night it happened didn't start like a disaster. It started like a rescue. I remember standing in my kitchen, the house too quiet, my marriage hanging in the air like something wrapped in plastic, preserved, untouched, slowly suffocating. My husband had stayed late at work again. Or maybe he wasn't at work at all. I had stopped asking. Then my phone vibrated. Him. A single message. Are you done pretending you're fine? My breath trembled. I typed nothing. But my silence was enough, because a moment later he sent another. Open your door. I didn't plan to obey. I didn't plan to move. But my feet carried me to that door as if they already belonged to him. And there he was, leaning against the frame, hoodie half-zipped, rain in his hair, eyes heavy with the kind of hunger a woman shouldn't meet when she's married. The kind of hunger that tells the truth you're trying to hide. "Why are you here?" I whispered. "To take back the pieces of you you've been throwing away," he said softly. "And maybe, to claim the ones you're too afraid to admit you miss." My chest tightened. "You shouldn't be here." "But you want me here." I didn't answer. He didn't need me to. He stepped inside. Closed the door with his back. The sound echoed like a breaking vow. When he walked toward me, I felt my knees weaken, not from fear, but from the electricity threading through the air. His fingers brushed my jaw, slow, deliberate, testing the rules I pretended I still had. "You're trembling," he murmured. "No, I'm..." He cut me off by pressing his forehead to mine. "No kiss. Not yet. Just closeness. Just heat. Just danger. Tell me to leave," he whispered. But the words wouldn't come. Because the truth was simple. I didn't want him to leave. Not anymore. Not tonight. I swallowed hard, but my body betrayed me, leaning into him, breathing him in, answering questions I didn't speak out loud. His hand slid to my waist, pulling me gently but firmly against him. "Say it," he whispered. "Say you don't want this." But I couldn't lie. Not in that moment. "I don't know what I want," I breathed. "Yes, you do," he said, voice low, vibrating through me. "You've just been afraid to listen." His lips brushed the side of my neck, not a kiss, not fully, just enough to silence every remaining piece of resistance. My fingers curled into his hoodie. My pulse hammered. My thoughts dissolved. And then he finally kissed me. It was slow at first, controlled, like he was giving me space to run if I needed to. But when I didn't pull back, when I leaned deeper into him, when my breath slipped into his mouth, the kiss changed. It grew hungry. Possessive. Consuming. His hands pulled me closer, exploring my back, my waist, my hips, learning the map of me with devastating accuracy. My body responded helplessly, melting, arching, answering him like it had waited years for this exact moment. My ring felt heavier on my finger. My conscience lighter than it should have been. At some point, I don't even remember how, he lifted me slightly, guiding me back toward the couch. The world blurred. My heartbeat thundered. His lips found places I didn't know were aching until he touched them. And then everything else disappeared into the kind of darkness that isn't empty. It's full. Full of breath. Full of hands. Full of whispered names. Full of choices I could never undo. Fade to black. But what happened that night? That moment he crossed the line. That moment I let him. That was the night he claimed a part of me I didn't know I still had left. And it changed everything. My marriage was safe. Until he unbuttoned parts of me I thought were locked forever. I woke up the next morning with sunlight pouring across my face like a reminder I didn't want. Daylight had no mercy. It highlighted everything I had done, and everything I was still craving. My husband stirred beside me, stretching, yawning, unaware that the woman he held was slowly becoming unrecognizable to herself. I kept my face turned to the window because if I looked at him long enough, guilt would crawl into my throat. But if I closed my eyes, I saw another man's hands. Hands that moved with certainty. Hands that unlocked a part of me I had tucked away under years of routine, responsibility, and emotional starvation. My marriage was safe. Predictable. Respectable. Everything society applauded. But him? He was the darkness that made my daylight feel like a lie. The daytime version of me. By day, I played my role perfectly. The attentive wife. The organized woman. The calm, rational, responsible partner. No one suspected anything because I didn't look like the type who could lose herself the way I had the night before. I cooked breakfast, folded laundry, answered emails, but every quiet moment felt like a battle between who I was supposed to be and who I had allowed myself to become. My phone buzzed once. Just his name on the screen made my knees weaken, like the memory of him was a hand pressed against the back of them. Him. You okay? 3 words. But they burned through all my defenses. I typed back with fingers that trembled slightly. Me. I shouldn't talk to you today. His reply came instantly. Him. Then don't talk. Just feel. My chest tightened painfully. This man, this unavoidable force, he didn't just tempt me. He saw me. The night version of me. Night didn't ask for permission. Darkness didn't care about vows, rings, or my perfect reputation. Night was where my truth lived. I found myself driving to him without meaning to. Or maybe I did. Maybe the lie I told myself was that I couldn't stop, when the truth was that I didn't want to. He opened the door before I even knocked. And the look he gave me. It wasn't hunger. It wasn't desire. It was the kind of recognition people spend years searching for. I knew you'd come back, he said softly. And just like that, my daylight lies dissolved. The unbuttoning. He didn't touch me immediately. Instead, he walked closer, slowly, like giving me room to turn back. But I didn't. I couldn't. Your eyes, he murmured, they tell me everything you're afraid to say. My breath caught. Because he was right. He reached up gently, as though he were unfastening a weight from my soul rather than close from my body. Tell me to stop, he whispered. My lips parted. Nothing came out. Because the truth was, I hadn't felt alive in years. The fire I let happen. He kissed the place just below my jaw. A kiss so slow, so intentional, that my knees softened as though my body remembered him even before my mind did. There were no loud sounds, no chaos, no reckless rush. Just heat. Just surrender. Just a woman being seen, wanted, cherished, dangerously so. The room felt like a confession. My heartbeat felt like betrayal. But being in his arms felt like oxygen. I was losing myself. And at the same time, finding a version of me that had been buried under years of silence. The moment after. He rested his forehead against mine. You can lie to the daylight, he murmured. But at night, you're mine. My chest tightened because he wasn't wrong. I wasn't his in a way that belonged to this world. But emotionally. Dangerously. Secretly. I was becoming addicted. The worst part? I didn't know how to stop. I swear that night felt like the universe held its breath just to watch me fall. I wasn't supposed to be there. Not in that downtown hotel. Not wrapped in the warmth of a man who wasn't my husband. Not shaking from the mixture of fear, desire, and the guilt that kept dragging my heartbeat to the edge of chaos. But I was there anyway, because temptation had already unbuttoned me long before his fingers ever did. The room was dim, gold light pooling across the sheets like it was trying to hide my sins. His hands were on my waist, slow, practiced, almost tender, and that tenderness was the part that scared me the most. Relax, he whispered, lips grazing my ear as if he owned it. Relax? How could I relax when my marriage, my peace, my entire life was hanging right outside that hotel window like a loose thread waiting to snap? I felt his mouth trail down my neck, and I almost melted into him again, almost. But something about that night felt different. It felt watched, dangerous, like the truth itself was sitting on the nightstand, waiting for the perfect moment to leap out and destroy everything. Then my phone buzzed. My whole body froze. Not once. Not twice. It buzzed 3 times, the kind of vibration that sounded like a warning from God himself. My husband's name lit up on the screen. My breath cracked. The man beside me paused. And for the first time since this affair began, I felt the walls closing in. Don't answer, he murmured, sliding his hand down my spine. But I wasn't thinking about pleasure anymore, only consequences. My husband never called me at night unless something was wrong. Was he suspicious? Did someone see me? Did he track my location? The phone buzzed again. My heartbeat drowned out everything else, even the heat of the man touching me. I stood up, chest rising and falling, limbs trembling as if the lie crawling inside me was trying to claw its way out. He reached for me. Come back to bed. My life is calling, literally. I whispered. He smirked, arrogant, confident, too sure of the power he had over me. That life doesn't satisfy you. That's why you're here. His words cut deeper than he realized. Because he wasn't wrong. But he wasn't right enough to save me either. I grabbed my phone, silenced the call, and stared at my reflection in the dark mirror across the room. My hair messy. My lips swollen. My guilt glowing like neon. I didn't look like a wife. I looked like a weapon, aimed at my own marriage. Stay, he whispered behind me. And I almost did. But something in my chest cracked, a warning, a plea, a reminder of who I was before temptation rewrote me. I can't, I whispered. Not tonight. He stood, walked over, slipped his hand under my chin, forcing me to face him. You'll come back. I closed my eyes because the worst part was that he was right. But not tonight. Tonight, I walked out, my legs shaking, my heart pounding, my sins clinging to me like perfume. And as I stepped into the cold night air, I whispered the truth. I almost got caught, and maybe I deserved to. But the story wasn't over. Far from it. It was only the first time the night tried to betray me. And definitely not the last. If you want, I can continue the saga, or create a part 2 with even more tension, lust, and near-discovery moments. Now here is your requested description.